So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be discussing today's Indian Express newspaper. So let's start our discussion without any further delay. So today we will be talking about 51st Chief Justice of India. We have already discussed that Mr. Sanjeev Khanna was about to become the Chief Justice and he has taken the oath. So we will be talking about Chief Justice and we will be seeing what is the eligibility, what is the appointment procedure, etc. Though we have discussed it again and again in the collegium related processes, but today we will go through it again. Okay. Then moving further, world's first wooden satellite. Okay. Sorry, pardon. World's first wooden satellite. So we will be talking about that, and then 2024 said to become the warmest year. Okay. Last time we have seen that 2023 was the warmest year till now, but now it is been speculated that 2024 will be the warmest year. Okay. So that is the three things which we will be discussing. Other than that, also we will be discussing few more articles. Okay. So let's start our discussion. We will be starting with the practice question which was given to you in the previous session, and then we will be moving to the fact of the day, then constitutional amendment section, and in the end there is a article for your own read, and we have a practice question for you. Okay, here you can see this is the front page of the newspaper. Here you can say Delhi Beijing to bid ties pre 2020 normal, and again here we can say that China and India, they are trying to focus on the border related disputes, etc. Okay, so these things we have discussed again and again that there was this agreement related to patrolling, etc. So I think before G20 meet which is about to happen next week, so they will also discuss these things once again. Then there will be a bilateral meet between the two leaders, that might be a possibility. Okay, so that is the thing. Second is 51st Chief Justice of India, Sanjeev Khanna. We will be talking about this article. Okay, here we have Manipur police, 10 militant killed, targeted CRPF camps. So this is related to your Manipur issue, but we will not be going into this because this is incident which has happened, so there is nothing much to discuss. But we have already discussed the Manipur issue again 2-3 times, so I guess we can safely skip it for now. Okay, if there is a major development, we will be discussing that issue again. Now the practice question, if we see, what does the rule of the game principle refer to in the context of the government recruitment? We have seen that what is the game? The government recruitment is the game, and what is the rule of the game? That they are saying that the rule of the game should not be changed. That means that during the time of the you can say recruitment process, you cannot change the whatever rules you have set during the notification or in the notification. Okay, allowing changes to the recruitment criteria after the application process. Now we are saying that we are not supposed to change it, so this particular option is incorrect. Ensuring all participants in the recruitment process follows the same initial rules. Okay, so that can be a possibility. Moving further, increasing flexibility in the recruitment rules. Now this is not to increase the flexibility, this is to basically, you can say, make sure that there is no flexibility with respect to the initial rules. Okay, we cannot change the rule, that means that we do not have that kind of flexibility. Okay, so that is incorrect. Applying a new rule for the future recruitment cycles. Now this is also incorrect. Option B would be your right answer. Okay, now we can move further to the next one, that is basically your fact of the day. Before that, I would like to tell you that GS Foundation courses for prelims and mains are about to start from 13th of November at an Indore center, and then 26th of the November at our Delhi center. So you can directly visit the center and get enrolled, or you can call on this number, that is 8010440440. Okay, for any query you can call on this number, or you can directly visit the center to get enrolled. Other than that, before moving further, please note, if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it. Okay, now let's move further and let's see what is the fact of the day. Now this is something which has been taken out of nowhere. We have I was just thinking about the succession laws, etc., and there was one interesting fact which has come in front of me, so I'll be discussing that. According to the Hindu Succession Act, that is HSA. Okay, so Hindu Succession Act, if a woman's property is self-acquired, okay, there are two kind of properties. One, when we talk about the properties, there are two kind. One is your ancestral property, which is passed from your previous generation to you. Okay, so that is ancestral property. And second is your self-acquired property, that you have acquired during your lifetime by your own hard work. Okay, So if a woman's property is self acquired, okay, and her husband is no more, she has no children, that property goes to the husband's heir. Okay, now here you can see it is said that if there is a woman, okay, she has self acquired the properties, husband is no more, children are not there, in that case the property will go to the husband's side of the family. Okay, so that will go to husband's heir. So that is one thing. If a woman has a will, or you can say she did not die in intestate, or she has a will, so according to the will that property will be, you can say, distributed, or if there are children then it will be gone to the children. Now what about the ancestral property? We have seen that self acquired property will go to husband's heir. What about the ancestral property? So in case of ancestral property, if there is no children, then this particular property will go to the you can say back to her family, that is, you can say to her mother, okay, or to her father, or you can say parents. Okay, so let's see. If a woman dies intestate, intestate means that she does not have a will, she did not tell that what to do with the property. Okay, now her self acquired property, she has children, then it will go to the children. If no children, then property will go to the husband. If even husband is not there, then ownership will be go to the mother-in-law. Okay, the her side or husband side of the family. Okay, after husband, his property is supposed to go to his mother. Okay, so ultimately we can say that this particular case where husband is no more, children are not there, you can say that that will go to the husband's heir. Then inherited property or the ancestral property, so in that case if she has children, property will go to the children. If she does not have the children, then the ownership is transferred to the heirs of the father or mother, that means that her father or her mother. Okay, so we can say that it will go to the her side of the family. Okay, if a man dies intestate, if a person who has not wrote a will and he dies, so the property will go to the mother, children and widow, equally it will be divided. Okay, so let's see here. If there is a male who has a wife, who has a mother, and there are children, let's say 3 children are there. Now if he dies, that means that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 people among whom the property will be, you can say, distributed equally. Okay, so that is the case when you have children and your mother and your you can say wife is there. Okay, widowed wife remarries, if that particular lady, if she goes for the remarriage, then that particular property will be, or you can say her rights over the property will be transferred to the, you can say, children. That means that she will have to let go of her rights into the property. Okay, so this is something which is there and that can be used in your normal life as well as, you know, mostly in the family disputes, etc., that can be discussed. So that is something which we have discussed today. Now we can move further to the next one, that is basically your constitutional amendments. We will be talking about the 42nd Constitution Amendment Act 1976. This is the most important constitution amendment, I would say. This is also called as the mini constitution. We must have discussed it again and again, but now since it is under the sequence, so we will be talking about that. Now during this 42nd Constitution Amendment Act, there are certain things which has been added. One, you will say that there are, you know, changes which was made in the preamble. Okay, second thing is the concept of fundamental duties were introduced over here in part 4A as per the Soren Singh committee's recommendation. Okay, other than that, few directive principles of state policy, they were also added over here. Okay, that is 3 directive principles which has been added over here. Other than that also there are few changes which has been made. Okay, now see, the term like socialist, secular and integrity, they have been added to the preamble. I will not tell you where they were you can say inserted, because obviously preamble should be by heart for you now. So socialist and the secular, now earlier we did not had this word. Okay, but still our constitution was having the elements of socialism as well as the secularism. Okay, now after this amendment they have made it exclusive, you can say. Okay, so that is one thing. Second is your 40 there are fundamental rights which has been added under article 51A, and that is your part 4A of the constitution. Okay, so fundamental duties were added over here by the recommendation of the Soren Singh committee, though there were some changes which has been made in the recommendations, but broadly speaking you can say that on the recommendation of the Soren Singh committee we have added the fundamental duties as with the 42nd Constitution Amendment Act. Okay, added 3 directive principle. New directive principle were added. One is equal justice and free legal aid, because of which we have this NALSA, etc. National Legal Service Authorities. Okay, we have NALSA. Then at our state level also we have these authorities. We have district levels as well. Okay, now the aim is to provide for the free legal advice. Okay, so that is NALSA. Then after that, the participation of workers in the management of industries and the protection of the environment. Okay, so environmental factor, you can say environmental factor, forest and wildlife, that was also added over here. Management of the industry. Now earlier managers were there and they were not from the workers side. So in now you can say that in the management of a company, the workers also had a say. So there was participation of the workers in the management of the industry. Now how they have been ensured that there are various you can say unions which has been made, and through which they will be actually looking into, or they will be participating into the management of the industry. Okay, so these are the 3 fundamental DPSPs which were added over here. And other than that, there are some changes which were made during the 42nd Constitution Amendment Act, that is facilitate the proclamation of national emergency in part of the territory of India as well. Okay, earlier national emergency was a term which was used for the, you can say, emergency which is applied to the all of the nation together. Okay, but after 42nd Amendment Act, it was said that it can be applied into a part of the territory as well. Then made the president bound by the aid or the advice of the cabinet. For when we talk about the advice of the cabinet, that is basically talking about when we see that president is bound by the aid and advice of the council of minister. Now council of minister is a bigger body inside which there is a, you can say, concise body, that is cabinet. Okay, so president was made you can say bound by the advice of the cabinet. Then provided for the administrative tribunals and tribunals for the other matters, that is your Article 323A and Article 323B. For administrative tribunals we have Article 323A. For the other matters we have Article 323B, which was added with the help of the 42nd Amendment Act. Provided that the law made for the implementation of directive principle cannot be declared invalid by the courts on the ground of the violation of some fundamental rights. Okay, so basically there was this article that is 31C, which was there with which was saying that if you can say government is making a law with respect to Article 39B and C, which is against the fundamental right, okay, that will be a valid you can say law, because it is giving preference to the DPSPs over here. Court has also settled this situation, and they have said that if there is a law which is made for the implementation of Article 39B and C, in that case they can, you can say, go beyond the fundamental rights as well. They can amend the fundamental rights for that. Okay, so basically they have given a supremacy to Article 39B and C, or the DPSP which are mentioned under the Article 39B and C. What happened is that with this particular, you can say, constitutional amendment, government has made a provision that was saying that they can do it for all the DPSPs. That means that if they are bringing a law for the implementation of the DPSP, okay, so they can go for the amendment of fundamental rights. They can, you can say, overpower the fundamental rights as well. Okay, but after that, after some time, there was this particular law, you can say, amendment, or the provision of the amendment has been you can say challenged in the court, and court has struck it down, and position was restored that only for this particular DPSP you can go to overpower a fundamental right, but not for all the DPSPs. Okay, so that was something I wanted to tell you. That is why I have added this particular provision, but which was held invalid by the Supreme Court later on. Okay, so that is about the 42nd Constitution Amendment Act, which we have already talked about. Now we can move further to the next one and start the discussion of the day. Okay, 51st Chief Justice of India, that is Sanjeev Khanna. President Draupadi Murmu administered the oath of office to Justice Sanjeev Khanna as 51st Chief Justice of India at ceremony attended by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other dignitaries at Rashtrapati Bhavan on Monday. Okay, sorry. So basically he is the 51st Chief Justice, and the you can say oath was administered by our President. Okay, so that is one thing, that oath will be administered by President of India. Okay, now let's see what is the eligibility to become your CJI, Chief Justice of India. Now to become the Chief Justice of India, a person must be Indian citizen, that is one requirement, have served as a High Court judge for at least 5 years or as an advocate in a High Court for at least 10 years. Okay, that is another requirement. Then alternatively be regarded as the distinguished jurist by the president. If president thinks that he is a distinguished jurist and he has the expertise in the field, that means that that person can also be eligible to be a, you can say, Chief Justice of India. Okay. Now moving further, here you can see appointment process. If we talk about, so appointment will be done by President of India as per Article 124 of the Constitution of India. There is this, when we talk about the appointment, it is given in the Article 124, the appointment of judges. Okay. While the president consults with the Supreme Court judge as deemed necessary, it is given under the Article 124 that president will be going for the consultation. Okay. So he will be consulting with the Supreme Court's judges. For that, they have made a provision with the help of the, you can say, landmark judgment of the Supreme Court that we call collegium. Okay, they have made a system that is collegium. When we talk about the appointment of the judges in Supreme Court, so there is this collegium made of CGI plus 4 senior most judges. Okay, so that is one thing which is there, and they go for the appointment and the transfer of the judges. Okay, now the appointment is based on the recommendation primarily from the CGI and the collegium system. The conventionally the senior most judge is the most he is the most appropriate for the appointment, and conventionally he is the person, he is appointed over here, the senior most judge. Okay, but there are exceptions which has been there in the past. Okay, so that is about the appointment process. Now here you can see collegium system and the procedure. What happens is that if there is a convention which has to be followed, that means that collegium will go for the senior most judge, and that they will be sending this name to the law ministry. Law ministry will send it to the PM office, and PM and the council of minister will send it to the president, and president will appoint the chief justice. Okay, so that is the normal procedure. The collegium is consisted of the CGI and the four senior most judges of the Supreme Court recommending the appointment and the transfer, which we have already seen. The president usually follows the recommendations, although the government can raise objection. Government can send it back for one time. Okay, if the same name is coming back to the government, then they have to appoint it. Okay. Now the process has faced criticism for lack of transparency, and the, you can say, mostly it is said that it is you can say allegation is made against the judiciary that there is some kind of nepotism or the favoritism which is there. For that it has been criticized. Okay. Now removal of the judges. So removal of the judges has the similar procedure with respect to the, you can say, process of removal of the president. Okay. So we can say that impeachment like procedure is there. Okay. Now who will remove the judge? The presidential order. Okay, so president will be removing the judge. There will be a presidential order, and that order will be followed by a resolution of the parliament. Okay, so that will be there on the grounds of proven misbehavior or incapacity. There are only two grounds for the removal of judges, that is proven misbehavior and the incapacity. That is all. Okay, now we can move further and we can start talking about the another article that is related to your FPI. Recently you must have seen that FPI outflow has become a concern over here. Most of the, you can say, FPIs which were there in India, now they are getting out of India and they are shifting towards China. There are various factors which we have discussed in various lectures as well. So we will not go into factors right now. We will be talking about FPI. We will be talking about the some kind of changes which government is saying. Now before going into that, we will be seeing that what is FPI. So let's see. FPI is basically something, if there is a foreign investor, he wants to invest in India's you can say some firm which is having equity or the stock. In that case he can, using this particular instrument, that is FPI, he can invest in India. Now that is not related to the ownership, that is related to the financial instruments only. Okay, now if a person who comes to India and there is a small company and he acquires that company, he purchased that particular company, that will come under FDI, foreign direct investment. Now when we are talking about the portfolio investment, that means that we are talking about the stocks, equity, mutual funds, etc., etc. Okay, so we are talking about the financial instruments over here and not the physical acquisition of a company. Okay, so that comes under the FDI. Now if we talk about the foreign portfolio investment, that consists of securities and other financial assets passively held by the foreign investors. Now this is passively held by the foreign investors. There is no direct you can say interference. Now it does not provide the investor with the direct ownership of the financial assets. and is relatively liquid depending on the volatility of the market. Most of the time you will be seeing, if the market sentiments are going down, you will see a FPI outflow. Okay, that means that that is a volatile instrument. You can say they can come in, go out, as per the market situations. Okay, then example of FPI includes the stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, global depository receipts, that is GDRs, and American depository receipts, that is your ADR. Okay, so these are some instruments which are considered under the FPI. FPI is a part of country's capital account and it is shown on the balance of payment. Okay, balance of payment is basically what comes in, what goes out, that is, you can say, ledger of that is basically your balance of payment, the amount of money flowing from one country to other country over a monetary fund. Now balance of payment is, you can say, discussed with respect to the monetary year. Okay, so that is a, you can say, indicator which is basically calculated per year. Okay, so that is balance of, that is forms part of your balance of payment as well. Okay, now let's see. FPIs are generally considered as the hot money because that can come out and go, that is volatile. Okay, so here you can see FPI is often referred as the hot money because it has because of its tendency to flee at the first sign of the trouble in the economy. If they sense that there are some kind of speculation which are going against the market, of there is a possibility that market might go down, they will withdraw from the investment, they will take the investment and go out. Okay, FPI is more liquid, volatile, and therefore that is riskier than FDI, because suddenly, let's say there is an investment of $100 billion US dollars from other countries to India. Okay, and suddenly market goes down, and suddenly you will be seeing that these 100 million which were there in the Indian economy, they will go out suddenly. Okay, and because of this 100 billion which is going out of your economy, the dollars demand in your economy will increase. Okay, that will also impact your forex reserve or the local economies as well. Okay, anyways, now if we talk about what is the difference between FPI and FDI, we have talked about the FPI, which is related to your stocks, related to the financial instruments like mutual funds, portfolios, etc. But if we see foreign direct investment, these investments are for the long terms. They are basically, you can say, physical acquisitions. Most of the time there can be new field project, green field project that can be there. So let's see what is the difference between the FPI and FDI. Okay, definition, we have seen that the FDI refers to the investment made by the foreign investors to obtain a substantial interest in the enterprises located in different countries. That means that you are interested in the enterprises which is located in a particular country. Okay, so let's see, there is a foreigner which is there in USA and he is interested in acquisition of a company in India. So when he purchased that company, that is a FDI. Okay, now FPI refers to an investing in the financial assets of a foreign country, such as stocks, bonds available on the exchange. Okay, so that is the difference in the definition. That is talking about the enterprises, this is talking about the financial instruments. Okay, now role of the investor here. In FDI, the role of investor is active because he is directly getting the ownership of that particular firm. Okay, here that is passive investor, that they are not getting the ownership, they are just getting the financial instrument. Okay, type is direct investment, they will be directly involving over here. That is a indirect investment. There is the financial instruments with financial institution which is between the you can say investor and the company whose share they are basically buying. Okay, degree of control, higher control, very low control. As I told you, this is volatile, so that is why there is very low control over there. Term, this is a long term investment. When we talk about FDIs, these are long term investment and these are short term investment. As I told you, they, if at the first sign of any kind of discrepancy in the market, they will flee the market. Okay, then management of the project, there will be an efficient management and comparatively less efficient. Investment has done often physical assets of the company. As I told you that they will be acquiring the assets over here. These are about the financial assets of the company. Okay, entry and exit in the FDI mode is difficult. There are various approval you have to get. There are various you can say process which you have to follow. Okay, and there are various restrictions which are also there in the FDI. Okay, even in FPI we have the limits and the restrictions which are there, but relatively it is an easier process. Okay, and when we talk about the risk involved here, so FDIs are stable because these are governed. There are various as I told you, the entry and exit both are difficult. So exit is also difficult. So if you have to get out of the you can say a particular investment, you have to get out of India, then you have to take approvals, etc. Okay, so that will take time. So there is no sudden withdrawal. Okay, but in case of FPIs there can be sudden withdrawal which we are facing right now. Okay, so this is about the FPI and FDI. Now let's see what was the news. Okay, RBI issues a new framework to reclassify FPI into FDI. Now when do you reclassify FPI into FDI? Okay, so let's say FPI has a limit which has been imposed by the government, and that limit is nearly, let's say, 10%. Okay, if there is a limit, that is 10% of the paid up capital. Paid up capital is basically, let's say, if there is a company and that company has raised nearly 100 billion US dollars from the market. Okay, if they have, that company has raised 100 billion US dollars from the market, then only 10 billion US dollar can be the FPI. Okay, so that is the cap which is there, that is 10% of the paid up capital. Okay, now let's see, there is a company who has purchased the share, and after purchase from the last transaction they have purchased share and they realized that that particular limit has been breached. Now you have 12% of the, you can say, paid up capital which is there in the FPI. In that case you have to transfer, or you can say reclassify yourself from FPI to FDI. Okay, foreign direct investment, you have to classify yourself as a FDI. For that you need to have some process which has to be followed. For that you have to take approvals from the government as well as the, you can say, consent from the, you can say, the companies which are there. Okay, so that RBI is saying that for the reclassification they have issued a new framework. Okay, now here you can see the direct foreign portfolio investment to obtain necessary approval from the government and the concurrence from the investee companies when their equity holdings go beyond the prescribed limit and they reclassify the holding as the foreign direct investment. So they have to take the approval from the government and the concurrence from the investee company. Okay, now FEM rule, foreign exchange management rule that are there as per 2019. Investment made by the FPI should be less than 10% of the total paid up capital. Okay, total paid up equity capital on the fully diluted basis. Okay, so basically we have seen that is on the paid up capital, total paid up capital, 10% of that can be FPI. Okay, so if you are breaching the prescribed limit, if you are going beyond the 10%, then you have to reclassify yourself as FDI. Now what option do you have if you are breaching the limit? So one is your option of divesting their holdings, either you withdraw from that. Okay, if you are having 12%, then you can withdraw your 2%, so that is within the cap of 10%, and otherwise you can directly shift the class of the, you can say, investment, that is from FPI to FDI. Okay, so option of divesting for their holdings or reclassify such holdings as FDI within the 5 trading days of the last transaction which has breached the limit. Okay, so let's say there were 4 transactions. At the first time you have taken 3% of equity, second time you have taken 3%, third time you have taken 3%, till now you have taken total 9%, and that is within the cap. And the fourth time when you taken the 3%, then you have reached to the 12% limit, and that from the last transaction that has happened, the fourth transaction that has happened, from that particular transaction within 5 days you have to reclassify your holdings. Okay, that is there. Investment should be in adherence to the entry rules, sectoral caps, investment limits, pricing guidelines, and the other attendant conditions for the FDI rules. For the FDI or the FPI, you can see there are certain areas in which FPI is allowed but FDI is not. Okay, in such cases you cannot go for the reclassification. If FDI is not allowed, then you cannot go for the reclassification, you have to withdraw. Okay, otherwise if there is FDI which is allowed, then you have to take government's approval and company's concurrence, and then you can reclassify your investment. That is there. FPI should have concurrence of the Indian investee company concerned for the reclassification of the investment to FDI. Enable such company to ensure compliance with the condition pertaining to the sectoral prohibitions. Sectoral prohibitions, as I told you, there are certain areas where FDI is not allowed. In such case, when you are going for the concurrence of the company will tell you that this is not allowed. Okay, sectoral caps and the government approvals wherever applicable under these rules. Facility of the reclassification will not be permitted in any sector, prohibited for FDI. So these are certain rules which has been made by, you can say, RBI over here. So that we have discussed. Now we can move to the next article that is related to your, you can say, cyber crimes. Okay, in that particular article there is nothing much which has been discussed, just one thing, that is there are certain cyber crimes which are happening, and these cyber crime or the criminals, they are using mule accounts. Okay, mule accounts for the money laundering. Okay, now in this article or in this discussion we will be talking about what is mule account and how the criminals are using it. Okay, so otherwise you can go through this. The center has frozen around 4.5 lakh mule bank accounts typically used for money laundering for cyber crimes in the past year. While such accounts open across the banking system, most found were there in the State Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, Canara Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Airtel Payment Bank, etc. Okay, Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center, that is I4C, reports to the Ministry of Home Affairs, conveyed this to the Prime Minister's office, that is something which is happening over here. Okay, and fraudsters nowadays are withdrawing payments from such mule accounts, which are usually created using KYC document of another person. Okay, through there are three methods: check, ATMs, or digitally they are using this money. Now what is happening over here? What they wanted to tell you is that, let's say there was some person who has created a crime and he has generated some kind of money. Okay, that money is with that particular fraud person, and now this fraud person is making an account by the KYC of another person, let's say their driver, or they have stolen the IDs and they have made an account, fake bank account, and now they are transferring money to that fake bank account. Okay, now money is being transferred in the name of the person whose documents has been used. Okay, the criminal has nothing to do with that. Okay, now the money has reached into the, you can say, system. That is, system is basically, you can say, the banking system, that is total white money. Okay, so black money has been converted into white money. Now there are layering of various transactions. Okay, to make sure that that particular money cannot be traced back to the, you can say, initial offender. So what happens is that from that particular mule account, that money will be sent to various other accounts, or there will be various transactions which will happen, and after that particular transactions are over, that money will ultimately go to the bank account of this particular person who has created the offense. Okay, so ultimately he has received his money back, but the name was that his name was not there with respect to any kind of black money, because when this money was black, he has nothing to do with that. In documents, that money was there with the name of that particular person whose account document has been used. Okay, now that particular person is considered as the mule. Okay, and that account is considered as mule account. Let's see. A mule account is a bank account used for facilitate illegal activities. A money mule is someone who transfer or moves illegally acquired money on behalf of someone that can, if that person can know that he is doing that, or that person cannot be aware of that thing. Okay, if there is a person who has some kind of commission arrangements, then that person can be part of the racket, but there are chances that the person might not even know that something like that is happening. Okay, so let's see. A criminal who has received and distributed funds. Okay, now he has received the funds and now he has to make it from black money to white money. Okay, so that is basically called laundering. So here what will we do is that he will let's say this is the criminal, and there are these criminal proceeds, or the money he has generated from the, you can say, black any kind of crime. He has this money, and now there is money mule, a person who will be using his account and whose account will be used, and that money will be transferred. Okay, so now that money has been provided to the mule, or in the mule account, which he might have knowledge, or which he might be ignorant about. Okay, and now that money is in the bank, and there will be placing of the funds into the legitimate financial systems. Okay, that these are basically your banks or any kind of financial institution which is there. They have put the money into that. Now funds are layered through the various transactions. Okay, he has sent money to one person, he has sent to the second, third, 4 and 5. They have sent some to someone else, and they have these are the money, or let's say there is this amount, that is 50,000 rupees. Okay, more than 50,000 rupees, if you are going for the transaction, then you have to show your PAN card. But if it is less than 50,000, so what that person will do is that will divide it into 9,000, 9,000, 9,000, 9,000, and what is the rest amount, whatever is there. Okay, so like that he can divide the amount, and then he will give it to one person, second person, and finally that amount will be reached to the layered fund returns to the criminal, and that proceeds will be given to that person who has started this particular chain. Okay, so that is how it is working, that they are using a fake account so that their you can say money cannot be traced back to the original criminal. That money will be traced to only this money mule. Okay, so that is about your mule accounts which we have discussed. Now we can move further to the next article, that is talking about the lignosat, the world's first satellite made of wood. Okay, ligno, there is this term, that is lignum. That lignum is basically a Latin word which is basically used for wood. Okay, so I hope that is clear. the world's first satellite, the wooden component has been launched with the rocket of SpaceX, okay, from the Kennedy Space Center that is there in Florida, United States. The intention is to establish wood as a, you can say, space material. When we send the satellite, most of the time you have seen that we are using aluminium, etc., plastic, aluminium and other grade of carbon based materials. Now when we are talking about this particular element, that this particular you can say material, that is wood, they are trying to make sure that wood can also be used for the satellites. So they will send the satellite into the space, they will review the performance, and if that is you can say okay, everything goes well, then we can say that wood can also be a, you can say, space material. Okay, so for that they have started this particular thing. Here you can see, built by the researchers at Japan's Kyoto University and the Tokyo based logging companies there. Okay, LignoSat has been flown to the International Space Center and it will be released into the orbit at 400 kilometers above the Earth. Okay, if successful, the wooden satellite can help make space and activities more environmental friendly, because we will be using wood in place of plastics, etc. Aluminum is also one of the component which is used in one of the material which is used in the space explorations. But the thing is, when these satellites are coming back to the Earth, or when their tenure is ended, when these components are coming back to the Earth and in the Earth atmosphere, when they are basically ended up in the fire because of the friction, etc., then there are various aluminum oxides which are released in the atmosphere, and that can be detrimental for the environment. Okay, so wooden satellite will make sure that that is environment friendly in Earth's sphere as well as the outside as well. Okay, it could also lead to the use of timber as a renewable building material in the future exploration of destinations such as Moon and Mars. If we start living over there, wood can be a building material over there. Okay. Now, what is LignoSat? We have talked about lignum is basically used for the wood. So, LignoSat is a wooden satellite. It is 900 grams. It is the size of a coffee mug. Here you can see it is small, and there are some components of plastic and silicon which are stored in that as well. Okay. Now, it has been constructed using the traditional Japanese craft. There is no screw and bolt which are used over here. They have used the socket technologies which are there in the traditional craft. Okay. Now, developed to test the durability of wood in the extreme environments of the space where temperature ranges are fluctuating from -100 degree to your 100 degrees Celsius positive. That is the temperature range which is there. That can be, that kind of variations can be there on the daily basis as well. Okay. Here you can see -100 to 100 degrees Celsius every 45 minutes as object transfers through the sunlight and darkness. Okay. Now, LignoSat will stay in the orbit for 6 months before it burns up in the Earth's atmosphere. Scientists will observe how much the wood expands and contracts in the space, on the basis of which they will be more aware about the generation of the satellites in the future. Okay. How accurately the geomagnetic field can be measured inside the wooden structure. So, that is the aim over here. Now, which kind of material, which kind of wood they have used? There are three from the tree of birch, cherry and the magnolia. Okay. Ultimately, they have settled on the magnolia. So, this is the type of wood which has been used in the creation of this particular satellite. Magnolia was selected for its lightweight properties and the resistant to cracking. Okay. Now, please remember this particular name, that is magnolia. It is basically having this you can say properties wherein it is resistant to cracking. Okay. Second thing is it is lightweight. So, these are the two properties that they can be asked into examinations. But what is the reason for building such a satellite to begin with? Okay. So, when we talk about the conventional satellite, they are made up of primarily of the aluminium, and they has the environmental cost. As I told you, when they come back into the Earth's atmosphere, they burns up, because of which there are various gases which can release, and that can be harmful. When we talk about this wood, most of the time you will be seeing that there are only two products which are there. One is your carbon dioxide and then water vapor. Okay. So, that is there. No doubt these water vapors are also your greenhouse gases, but the thing is it is relatively safer option which is there. Okay. Burning wood, however, only produce water vapor and carbon dioxide, which are cleaner byproducts with respect to the one aluminium oxides which are there. Okay. The scientists hope that one day they will be able to use wood to make the structures on the moon and other planets. Okay. Moving further, here pushed by the El Nino 2024 set to become the warmest year, said the WMO. Okay, so why is that warmest year? So obviously because of the El Nino. El Nino is a phenomena wherein you will be you can say witnessing the warming effects. Okay, so there are certain areas which will be facing cooling, you can say extra cooling, and then warming will be happening in the areas of the, you can say countries like India, etc. They will be facing lesser rainfalls. Okay, so because of the El Nino impact, El Nino impacts the whole system or the trade winds, etc. When we talk about the you can say winds, when we talk about monsoon, when we talk about other kind of rains, etc., which is happening, El Nino will impact all these depending on the area where this impact is felt. When we talk about India, we will be saying that we are facing less rainfalls, okay, because of the El Nino. So El Nino is having a impact wherein it will go for the extra warming as well. So considering that, year 2024 is set to become the warmest year, exceptionally high global temperature, and that is what has been said by the World Meteorological Organization. 2015 to 2024, that will be the decade, was on its way to become the warmest decade ever on the record. Okay, so please remember that from 2015 to 2024 we can see that it will be the warmest decade on the record. Okay, now statement of climate 2024, that was the report, that was the title of the report which has been released by WMO. Okay, and that it was released at the UN climate change conference, okay, which has happened at Baku, Azerbaijan. Now here you can say the January-September 2024 global mean surface air temperature was 1.4 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average. Okay. Now when we talk about the Paris Agreement 2015, in Paris Agreement we have decided that we will keep the temperature range, change in the temperature, to limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius of with respect to the previous pre-industrial level, you can say considering them that as a benchmark. Okay. So right now if you see the January to September global mean surface air temperature, that has been recording a benchmark which is above this particular you can say temperature change range. Okay, but the thing is, on average if we see, however, the long term warming when measured over the decades, it was found that it will remain below 1.5 degrees Celsius. So still there is a scope that we might achieve the target which was, you can say, mentioned in the Paris Agreement. Okay. Now other factors which has also been given over here, that one was the primary cause of this warming, that is El Nino. Okay, we are facing the extreme events, etc. Then other is the ocean heat. Okay, ocean surface temperature is also rising. Third, we have seen that we are having fast depleting ice extents on the poles. Okay, so that is also something which is considered the consequence or the impact of this particular warming, etc. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now we can move further to the next one, that is in the IR urgent redressal of India Russia one-sided balance of trade is needed. Jaishankar has said that we have good relations with Russia, no doubt, and we are having some temporary arrangement with respect to the Vostro accounts, etc. But still we need to go for the, you can say, balanced trade, because right now surplus is with Russia. Okay, so that is why Jaishankar has said that made a strong pitch for urgent redressal of one-sided balance of trade between India and Russia. It is imperative that the non-tariff barriers and the regulatory impediments are speedily addressed. Okay, so that is their special rupee Vostro accounts. Okay, so this is something we should discuss, that is special rupee Vostro account. Okay, so it is in rupees, that is why it is a special rupee Vostro account. When we talk about the Vostro account, we will be seeing what is a Vostro account. When we talk about the bilateral trade between India and Russia, that is 66 billion as of now, and goal is to reach 100 billion by 2030. That is not very aspirational, that can be done. Okay, and other than that, there are certain concerns with respect to the banking and the payment related issues, logistical challenges like shippings, insurance, and the, you can say, reinsurance, etc., and the market access. Okay, so these are certain concerns on which they should sit and talk about. Okay, so now, and when we talk about the potential of cooperation among the two countries, the one is your nuclear sector, the production of the high power turbines, equipment for solar and wind generation, improvement of LNG technologies. Okay, this is something you might remember. If you remember, then it's good that India and Russia has the potential in this particular field. Other than that, also it is not very much important. Now talking about the Vostro accounts. Okay, What is a was-through account? A was-through account is an account that domestic banks hold for foreign banks in the former's domestic currency. Okay, let's say India, we are having a was-through account. We will be holding the money in rupees over here for Russia. Okay, so that is a was-through account. Okay, Russia and India are having a trade. Let's say Russia has a surplus. Let's say we have sent some export, that is rupees. Well, let's talk about in rupees because account is in rupees. So we have 100 crore export we have sent to Russia. Okay, and we have taken an import that is of rupees 200 crores. Now we have, Russia has a surplus of rupees 100 crore. Okay, if that trade was in dollar and they have exchanged the dollars, okay, Russia will have dollars worth rupees 100 crores with them. Okay, but right now with the was-through account, what will happen is that India will hold this money for Russia in India only. Okay, so that is the, you can say, let's say Russia is having a bank account in India and in which they are keeping the money in rupees. That is basically your was-through account. Okay, so that is about the was-through account. Domestic banks use it to provide international banking services to their client who have global banking needs. Okay, now that account is there in India. Now that is the money, sovereign money, which has been kept over here with respect to Russia. And if there is some kind of a transaction which is happening in rupees, that can be you can say using this particular account for the transactions. Okay, moving further, it is an integral offshoot of the correspondent banking that entails a bank to facilitate wire transfer, conduct business transactions, and adopt deposits and gather documents on the behalf of other banks. So basically they will be providing services, okay, using this particular money. Here you can see, to understand this particular, you can say, was-through account better, you can see there is a Indian firm who has exported of rupees, who has exported some amount, some money, some goods for the exchange of money, and they have exported for rupees 100 to a Russian firm. Okay, now what will happen is that there is a Russian bank which will be there, and that Russian bank will pay the money over here. Okay, so that pays rubles to the bank. Russian firms will pay rubles equivalent to the 100 rupees to the bank, and bank will actually put that particular money into the Indian bank. Okay, so here the transaction, the particular Russian firm is getting money in the form of their own currency over here. Okay, and that Russian bank which has taken given the you can say rubles, that will send that money into the Indian bank. They will said that there was this transaction which has happened, that is of export of rupees 100. So was-through account debit will be there in the, you can say, in the form of rupees 100 in Indian bank. Okay, now let's say there is another bank which has gone for the import. Okay, and that particular transaction will be recorded over here with the help of Russian bank, and they will say that a credit of 150 rupees should be recorded over here. Now there is a debit of 100 rupees, there is a credit of 150 rupees, and there is a surplus of 50 rupees. That surplus will be kept with the Indian bank. That is basically your was-through account which has been maintained over here. Okay, in the simple words, as I told you, that if there is a Russian firm, or you can say India and Russia, there was this import of rupees 100, there was this export of rupees let's say 150. Now let's see, in that case India is having a surplus. In that case also we will be saying that this Russian bank is in the debt. But right now in case of Russia, we are having Russia is having a surplus. So obviously that surplus amount is basically stored in the form of rupee in India only. Okay, so that is a was-through account. Just know that that is an account of a country in our domestic currency, in our domestic territory. Okay, so that is about a was-through account. Now moving further, passing reference to this particular article, Bhutan to build a mindfulness city to woo investment and create employment. Okay, this Bhutan is the country which has given the concept of happiness index. Similarly, they have come up with the mindfulness city. Okay, so that city will be environment friendly. There will be various initiatives which has been taken to make sure that mindfulness is ensured over there. Anyways, Bhutan, the Himalayan kingdom that brought the world the concept of the gross national happiness, and is set to build a mindfulness city. Okay, now Galefu mindfulness city, that is GMC, that will be, you can say, started by Bhutan. Okay, economic corridor link between the South Asia to Southeast Asia. Okay, so you know that is some kind of economic activities will be there in this particular city. You can say it is some kind of special economic zone it will be creating. Okay, and it will promote cycling, or you can say green spaces, etc. So it will be environment friendly. So just know that it will be a city which is having economic activities which will going on, but the environmental factor will be kept in mind. So that is your Galefu mindfulness city. Okay, Now moving further, for your own read, there is this article, Canada search visa fast track option for Indian students. Okay, so this is for those students who are basically willing to study abroad, so you can go through this article. In the end, we have this practice question: which of the following country had come up with the idea of happiness index? Okay, Finland, Switzerland, Bhutan, or Nepal. Okay, so you can attempt this question and answer to me in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you, and please subscribe the channel.